It might come back.
Well, there goes the tent. From toothy mishaps to fast food fumbles and some truly skin-crawling scenarios, let's check out some hilariously unfortunate people having a worse day than you. Part 6. Get a pet. It'll be fun, they said. But pets, cute as they may be, usually come with a lot of mess and stress. But arguably the most unforgivable crime committed by a pet comes from this rather guilty-looking dog who decided to snack on his human's passport, tearing it up into smithereens. Yeah, I can't imagine that'll get past border control.
Oh, you think you can jet off on vacation and just leave me here, humans? Huh. Well, let's just see about that.
Birds, however, are notorious for being somewhat ill-mannered. And, well, if you leave food unsupervised within their reach, don't expect it to be there when you return.
Target acquired.
As this guy found when his cannoli was rudely scoffed by a pigeon. It's stuff like this, pigeons, that makes everyone hate you! Speaking of animal mischief, when this woman was playing with an elephant in the water, things quite literally went in an unexpected direction. Hardly surprising that this elephant could yeet her into another dimension, considering that, on average, an elephant's trunk can lift as much as 770 pounds. That's almost strong enough to lift your mama. Oh, sorry, I don't know what got into me there. Anyway, if we're talking about bad days at the mercy of wildlife, they don't come much worse than this guy whose car was swarmed by bees. Making a quick pit stop at the grocery store, the guy made the pivotal error of leaving his car window open. Upon returning, he found the 15,000-strong bee army waiting for him. At the time, neither the man nor the fire department, who were called in to assist in the bee evacuation, could figure out why, but I'd hazard a guess that it was due to the queen bee entering the car. Since the bees are unconditionally loyal to their queen and follow wherever she goes, it would make sense as to why all 15,000 ambushed the car. Either that or he had a really convincing flower-scented air freshener. Regardless, I'm pretty sure carpooling with an entire colony of bees would ruin my day too. Keeping things creepy and crawly, I can only imagine there's no worse feeling than staying overnight in a grotty hostel and waking up to literal bedbug bites all over your body. Anyone else feeling suddenly really itchy? Fortunately, these bites are typically harmless, but I think we'd all sleep better knowing that we're not being munched on by a bunch of blood-sucking critters. But as if that didn't sound nightmarish enough, just take a look at this next clip. Arachnophobes, you might want to look away.
So this is from one day when I was vacuuming my room when I was living in Australia, and I vacuumed behind a cushion that was on my floor and sucked up a funnel web spider, which is one of the most deadly spiders in the world. And this was a pretty big one. It was just in my bedroom. I hysterically cried for about an hour and then didn't sleep in my room for 3 days. So that's on Australia.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Honey, we're gonna need a new vacuum. I may have accidentally ran over the old one with my car and then set it on fire just for good measure. Of course, as expected, this clip comes from Australia, where this woman came across a funnel web spider and vacuumed it up, which was a reasonable response, given several funnel web subspecies can possess highly toxic and fast-acting venom. Heck, it ruined my day just seeing this video, so imagine harboring this spawn of hell in your vacuum. And just when you thought things couldn't get more Australian, take a look at what some poor family found lurking in their kitchen.
Hiding behind the toaster. Incredible. Now people say that no, venomous snakes can't climb. I'll tell you what, they certainly can. And that just sort of proves that that's about 1 metre and a bit off the ground. It's a bit longer than I think you. Definitely the same snake.
Mum said it was from the photo that I sent her. She's the one that had the good look at it. That, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's over 1 metre.
Is it a brown?
Yeah, it's definitely an eastern brown
Oh,
snake.
great.
Bear with me, I'm just going to chuck him. They're quite flighty sometimes. especially when they see the bag moving. So just gonna get down. Get down. Get you.
Yep, that's an eastern brown snake, one of the most potently venomous snakes in the world. Does not pair well with a slice of toast. Although I think Australia is probably the only place on Earth where finding a snake slithering behind your toaster might be normal. It might not even ruin your day. But keeping things in the kitchen here, and when it comes to cooking, there are plenty of things that could go wrong. For example, this next woman slaved over some homemade bone broth for hours and hours before making an absolutely awful decision. And hence making this next video all the more painful to watch.
What?
Ouch. You were supposed to catch that part, bud. Hours and hours of work literally down the drain. Not to mention, dinner is well and truly ruined. But on the bright side, seems like the perfect opportunity for takeout. Having said that, we can only imagine the devastation when this sleeping beauty awoke from her Subway slumber and found her pizza had wiggled its way to the floor. I think for the first time ever, I'm finally experiencing empathy. Nothing like a wasted pizza to really tug at the heartstrings. This isn't the only food fatality to take place on the subway, though. Just imagine being the guy who sprinted for the subway right as the doors were closing in. Carried out a hilariously bad attempt to keep the doors open, which resulted in him being left on the outside and his lunch, well, on a one-way solo trip. As if running for the train wasn't already embarrassing enough. This next clip ramps the embarrassment up a notch. Hard at work restocking the potatoes, this girl wasn't to know the disaster ahead of her. Clean up on aisle 4, please. There appears to be a woman who's been avalanched by potatoes, and a guy wandering over for a look, but not even helping at all. Talk about a bad day at work. Back to food tragedies, though, in this image depicting the aftermath of a guy dropping his massive KFC order on an escalator might be one of the most upsetting things I've ever seen. How it happened, I'm not sure, but I would guess that it escalated very quickly. Oh, my apologies, this isn't the time for jokes. One video like equals one prayer. And of all the food droppings I've witnessed in my quest to find people having a worse day than you, this next one takes the cake. Or rather, lasagna.
Bro, no way that I just dropped the lasagna for Thanksgiving and they're waiting for me.
That's devastating. It's the fact that you can hear in her voice that she is neither angry nor upset, but rather just completely resigned to her fate. For her, there was life before and life after the lasagna drop. Nothing will ever be the same. Equally traumatizing, this next guy reheated some pasta in the microwave, but then completely forgot about it for 4 days. Safe to assume he probably had the fright of his life when he discovered this moldy masterpiece festering away inside his microwave. But if green furry pasta wasn't terrifying enough, get a load of this next one. Some pea-brain guy didn't realize that he had to actually clean his water bottle straw for 6 whole months. It wasn't until his girlfriend made him aware that he discovered he'd been slurping on mold for months. Good God! Similarly, some poor soul munched on what he thought were blueberry waffles, only to then realize they were actually plain waffles garnished with spots of delicious mold. Horrifyingly, the discovery came after he'd already eaten 2. A double defeat on both his immune system and intellect. Certainly not a great day to be this guy. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I usually wake up in such a foul mood that it's advisable to stay away from me for an hour or 2. So I can imagine that if I were helping myself to a blueberry smoothie and this happened, it would well and truly tip me over the edge. At this point, I wouldn't even try tipping the glass the right way up. I'd just give up and go back to bed. Likewise, another scenario that could surely make a preacher swear is this unfortunate impaling of a juice pouch. Yep, unless I somehow happened to bump into Oprah and she gifted me a new car and Margot Robbie wanted to be my girlfriend, this would go down as one of the worst days ever. And no, I'm not being dramatic. But here's some serious kitchen embarrassment for you. This next woman explained online how she'd been left feeling frustrated after using this block of soap, feeling very confused as to why it wasn't lathering. It was only after a few days of using it that she discovered it wasn't soap, but literally a lump of cheese. I think it's time to eat your feelings, pal. Let's move on to matters of beauty now, where things can easily go awry. Case in point, when this woman was attempting to curl her eyelashes with an eyelash curler, it ended quite possibly the worst way. Guys, I'm no beauty guru, but I don't think ripping her eyelashes off was part of the plan. Honestly, I've always thought these beauty tools looked like some kind of medieval torture devices anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, she's lucky to still have an eyeball. But hey, who could even keep up with the beauty trends these days? Something I can't foresee trending, however, are sore red eyebrows. Yep, unfortunately for this girl, the wax she used to wax her brows reacted with her acne medication tretinoin, which as a common side effect can cause skin sensitivity. As a result, she was left with these huge red sores right beneath her eyebrows. Very in vogue, I must say. Anyway, these days makeup is so advanced that many people use setting spray to keep makeup in place and stops it from transferring on to other stuff. A vital step which women of fair complexion in particular might want to consider should they plan on canoodling with a person of color. It's like a Cinderella story, only instead of her shoe she left behind her face. And speaking of women leaving a piece of themselves somewhere unintended, feast your eyes on this unbelievable moment captured in a pub in England.
That's hilarious.
Some classic English dental work in action. I think it's safe to say that's one way to lose an argument. There really is no coming back from losing your teeth mid-feud, let alone having it captured on video to go viral. Nevertheless, it certainly made my day better. But if things falling out of your mouth are bad, things falling into your mouth might be worse. And to put that into effect, in case you need more ideas of things you should probably never do, then add swallow a squeaky toy to that list, as I'm sure this next fellow would tell you. Or rather, squeak you.
Hello, Ma.
Now if that isn't a look of total regret, I don't know what is. He'll certainly never swallow a party horn again, seeing as it required the work of a skilled doctor to get the squeaker removed. Now, if you have long hair like I used to, you're probably well acquainted with the fear of getting it stuck somewhere. Well, nightmares become reality for this poor lady who got hers stuck in a fan. And while her calmness is to be admired, this is way too much of a Final Destination type scenario for my liking. But the idea of keeping calm, as you'll see, is something that was clearly lost on this next lady who caused quite the scene at the hair salon. Whilst having her hair shampooed, the hairdresser accidentally wet her forehead, resulting in a very explosive outcome. I mean, that's definitely one way to say you're unhappy. Needless to say, there are plenty of people that I wish I could shoot down with a shower during my day, but apparently that's against company policy. Looking at you, Alex, from the management team. But while being sprayed in the face with water would surely ruin anyone's day, I have to admit that this was a prank that the salon staged for its social content. Learning that has kind of ruined my day now. Sorry, guys. But of all the bad hair days, I'd say this next guy got it the worst. So before I show you, it's worth noting that the guy posted this to Reddit with the intention of showing how bad of a haircut he'd received. Only in doing so, the guy was inundated with comments not regarding the quality of his haircut, but rather his dwindling hairline. I mean, way to kick a man while he's down. My personal favorite comment being, the only thing fading is that hairline, among many equally brutally hot takes. Safe to say that if the bad haircut didn't already ruin this guy's day, the responses he got on Reddit surely did. Way to go, guys. Arguably worse than a bad haircut, though, is a bad passport photo. Sure, a haircut grows out, but a bad passport photo? Well, that's with you for years. And with that in mind, my heart sincerely goes out to this poor girl. And her forehead. Several foreheads, more like. I mean, really, that thing's gotta be at least like a 6-head or something. Yep, an unfortunate rendering glitch of the image left her with a distorted face and a forehead big enough to land a plane on. Not to mention 10 years of embarrassment. There's embarrassment though, and then there's getting home from a job interview and discovering that you've been strutting around all day with a huge patch of butt sweat visible on your trousers. Yeah, that's next level. You should maybe see a doctor about that, buddy. Now moving on, and the great outdoors aren't for everyone. I know that if I, for one, am taken out of a 5-mile radius of a Starbucks, I will melt into a small pile of pathetic goo. Point is, some people are just not cut out for the outdoors. Things took a disastrous turn when this guy attempted to swing over some muddy water on a rotten old rope. I think we can all see where this is going, but let's just roll that clip.
Realized that would happen.
Wow, who could have seen that coming? On a scale of 1 to soaked in filthy bog water, how bad is your day going? While that turned out relatively okay, falling in water can be serious and very dangerous, particularly if a person doesn't know how to swim. Yet even with the necessary safety precautions, such as a life jacket, things can still end in disaster. Yikes. But before I get demonetized, don't worry, YouTube gods, he was fine. Rest assured, he did emerge pretty quickly, only as if his day couldn't get any worse, he returned with a huge booger coming out of his nose. But you can imagine how frightening this must have been for the poor guy who didn't know how to swim or how to attach a life vest. I guess the stupidity of the decision should really be the main source of his embarrassment. Let's hope he learned this lesson and has invested in some adult swimming classes. Not to mention some Kleenex. Keeping things outdoors camping is rarely a good idea for some folks. Take for example this guy who presumably had high hopes of camping blissfully in the mountains in an open tent below the stars. Ah, peaceful. So tranquil. But the wind had other ideas.
It might come back.
Yep, when our camper turned his back for a minute, a powerful gust swept his tent away and left it hovering over the mountains. I'm sure the UFO conspiracists will be on this in no time. And this certainly isn't the first time this has happened. I mean, look at this tent go, in the slightly less picturesque setting of Leeds Music Festival in northern England. On the bright side, the owner of that flying tent was probably too intoxicated to even notice their temporary abode had gone jet-setting for the skies. As it turns out, tent troubles in particular are a common occurrence at Leeds Fest, given the festival's tendency to be struck by terrible weather, like the mini tornado that spontaneously formed in 2022. And the inside of the tents didn't provide much comfort either.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the man? Get your ass.
That's crazy. And in case you're still hungry for more, here's another flying tent. And if you ask me, the hopelessness of this man's jog is almost poetic. You'd think his smooth head would provide him great aerodynamics, but legend has it he's still chasing after the tent to this very day. Okay, moving swiftly on, and we see this unfortunate fellow who walked through a cornfield and wound up looking like this. Now, I'm vulnerable to allergies too, don't get me wrong, but at this point I'm afraid you're just not cut out for the great outdoors of planet Earth. Get a load of this washing machine flooding after the internal seals broke. That doesn't look good. This is definitely something I would walk past, pretend I didn't see, and just wait for the next person to deal with. And while a flooding washing machine is undoubtedly annoying, just imagine returning to your parked car and finding this. Now on first glance, no big deal, just a bit of water. But as we move closer... Yep, one unlucky sucker parked right under what appears to be a drainage hole. Though giving its bizarre placement in a car park, I have to assume it's an accidental drainage hole, which we can only assume wasn't spewing a torrent of water when the person parked there. Man, an unexpected torrent of water smashing your rear window and flooding your car? Haha, yeah, sounds like a stinker of a day to me. But while nothing could have prepared that person for Satan's peace stream smashing their car's windows, our next individual brought water trouble upon themselves. The picturesque area of Richmond in London is cut through by the River Thames, parts of which are tidal. That memo was clearly lost on this numbskull who parked on a slope to the river only for their car to be shortly engulfed by the tide before they returned. I guess this is the consequence of not parking in an actual parking spot. If we're talking about times when people had some pretty extreme bad luck, then turn your attention to this next guy, who was put in a pretty dangerous position when he was working out and things suddenly took a dramatic turn. I mean, thank God no one got hurt. A reminder to always be safe at the gym. I take extra precaution by just not going to the gym at all. Safety first, right guys? That said, a potential consequence of not going to the gym is that you might end up like this person who attempted to weigh themselves and smash the scales. Ouch, right in the self-esteem. The scales may be broken, but I'm pretty sure the message is clear. Oftentimes people wind up in unfortunate positions not because of misfortune per se, but rather their own stupidity. Case in point, some numbskull thought the washable pillows meant that they could be also tumble dry. Needless to say, they had quite the shock when they opened up the dryer to the scene of a pillow massacre. And if all the other misfortune so far hasn't already left you feeling blue, this next instance might. Because when this girl was dyeing her hair blue, she failed to realize her glove had broken until afterwards. At which point she had inherited Smurfette's middle finger. Well, that or she'd begun her transformation into Mystique from X-Men. Either way, at least flipping people off should be a blast for her for the next week or so. And with that, our journey of misfortune comes to an end. Let me know down in the comments what was one of the worst days of your life and why. As always, thanks for watching, and I'm going to catch you in the next one.